Japabwe. In Hokkien Taiwanese, we greet each other by asking, have you eaten? Guaimia shi JuPong, Sandium, Gua Gatang Gyogua Apong, Washi Dim Yin Juga de King e Zabo Gya, Din Den Guan, Gad Dan Ju Kim, Dan Ju Kim e Zabosun, Washi de Hin Gat de Kim Bun e Zabosun. My name is JuPong Lin. My family calls me Apong. I'm the daughter of Yinzo Lin and Deking Lin. And I also said my grandparents' names that I just learned how to say yesterday. Both sides of my family have inhabited Taiwan for over 7 generations. I live in Nonotuck Land in the town whose colonial name is Amherst, Massachusetts. I'd also like to acknowledge our neighboring indigenous nations, the Nipmuc and the Wampanoag to the east, the Mohegan and the Pequot to the south, the Mohican to the west, and the Abenaki to the north. Proper introductions are important, so you know who I am in a deep way, so you know who I am in relation to my people. So I would like to further introduce myself with this poem. We are all islanders. I come from a family of farmers, brick makers, lovers of soil and mud. I come from a line of swimmers, canoers, fishers, island people. We are finding our way back to water. I make small canoes in memory of my people. Who are my people? I've been asking that all my life. My people are survivors. Our waterways lost to 4 centuries of colonization, barred from our coasts by martial law. Our luscious mountain-fed streams and rivers poisoned, became veins pulsing with terror, passed on in the blood of many generations. Today, I hear Yilan children learn to make boats, learn to swim again, to paddle, to fall in love with water again. From the other ocean, my people hear an echo of Salish people's canoe journey song. Our journeys join with the ocean of salty tears. Poetics of repair, being earth, being water, responds to the climate catastrophe by creating a space of collective care using poetry and papercraft. The virtual background here is installation view with many paper canoes made out of joss paper, gold and silver embossed with orange tips. There are cranes, paper cranes strung together and hanging around the room. And there's a group of paper horseshoe crabs, some blue, some yellow and orange. And there's a basket of canoes and horseshoe crabs with the canoes filled with seeds from native to this, seeds that are native to the region where I live. Poetics of repair, being earth, being water, is an artistic response to what has been called the Anthropocene, which Heather Davis and Zoe Todd argue is the result of the most recent era of colonial violence in white supremacist North America. Davis and Todd's main argument revolves around the start date of the Anthropocene, which they believe should more properly begin with the invasion of the Americas. They write, "We argue that placing the golden spike at 1610, or from the beginning of the colonial period, names the problem of colonialism as responsible for contemporary environmental crisis. Linking the colonial project with the Anthropocene challenges and upends the universalizing rhetoric of the earth sciences, and instead underscores the premeditated nature of the ongoing and expansive project of settler colonialism." Davis and Todd assert that The ecocidal logics that now govern our world are not inevitable or human nature, but are the result of a series of decisions that have their origins and reverberations in colonization. From this space, we can begin the project of decolonizing the Anthropocene. My project asks, how can poetics and socially engaged art decolonize the Anthropocene? I work with the question of how to decenter the anthropos, or the human. How can we awaken to our embeddedness in a world of other than human critters? My quest is to learn from the teachings of spiritual leaders, such as the revered Buddhist elder Thich Nhat Hanh, who speaks of interbeing. How do we interbe with the living world? I reclaim my ancestral traditions of paper folding, using joss paper burned to honor the ancestors, and Qigong to connect with the energy of the 5 elements: earth, sky, wind, fire, metal. Reclaiming my heritage destabilizes the colonial dualisms that split mind from body, matter from spirit. Eduardo Kohn in How Forests Think calls for an expansive understanding of thinking, a way of thinking beyond human thinking. And he unpacks how the runa think with the forest. Following Buddhist teachings, I suggest that thinking like a human gets in the way of being. I ask, how can we be the forest, water, cranes, and horseshoe crabs? Thich Nhat Hanh teaches us that we are each other. The air we breathe comes from the plant beings and tree beings, who are in turn nourished by the earth and sun. Water flows through all of us. Our bodies are 95% water. Poetics of Repair asks us to awaken to our interbeing with horseshoe crabs and the other real crabs, and the multitude of marine creatures who spend most of their lives in the water, and all the sky critters who depend on them. Recently, climate activists and earth and water protectors are organizing to name what's happening climate catastrophe, rather than the more innocuous sounding climate change. So I call the spaces I co-create with communities spaces of healing for climate catastrophe, or climate trauma, as eco-psychologist Ziwa Woodbury asks us to name it. I try to hold open the gate to spaces for public expression of feelings that catastrophe arouses, for grieving in community, feeling anxiety and distress together so we can transform overwhelm into collective action. I'm learning from David Treleaven, trauma professional and founder of Trauma Sensitive Mindfulness, or TSM, that contemplative practices that are healing and consoling for many can at the same time be dysregulating for survivors of trauma. Treleaven's program teaches facilitators to offer alternative practices, to give participants the choice to opt out. Like Woodbury, I believe what we are experiencing is climate trauma, and it is a collective trauma that every living being is experiencing at the same time, that every living being is experiencing. At the same time, I want to acknowledge the unequal burden of climate catastrophe on those who already suffer from racial and colonial trauma, gender violence, white supremacy, disability oppression, poverty, and other forms of collective trauma. Many of us already awake to the trauma of racial capitalism, patriarchy, and neocolonialism feel, as Dakota scholar Kim Tallbear has said, this is not my apocalypse. Colonialism attempted to take from us the very practices that sustained our people, criminalizing or appropriating sacred ceremonies. We need to reclaim the tools and practices that help us metabolize climate catastrophe, to help shift the culture of dominance so that we can face catastrophe together. I suggest that poetics and socially engaged art can provide tools and practices that can repair colonial wounds and repair relationships between colonizer and colonized, and with our other than human kin, I invite us to use these tools to make brave spaces that accommodate our different needs. My performative workshops are designed around a series of poems that incorporate paper folding instructions. Through guided meditation and Qigong practice, I invite participants into a holistic embodied experience of presence and reflection. I invoke Pauline Oliveras' sonic meditations, in which she instructs us to take a walk at night. Walk so silently that the bottoms of your feet become ears. I invite folks to let your feet become ears, to open your pores and allow your skin to become ears, to open your heart to become ears. Poetics of Repair invites participants to make medicine together, to fold sacred objects for our ancestors of all species, to mend relationships with our beloved kin and our Mother Earth. The joss paper I use, or hell money, that many Asian cultures burn to honor our ancestors, sends gifts to our ancestors. The poems incorporate instructions for folding canoes, cranes, horseshoe crabs, and other beings. I approach paper folding as a contemplative practice that can awaken us to our interbeing with earth, sky, flora, and fauna. As we fold, we become more and more connected with what we make together, dissolving the boundary between self and others and objects. We are and have always been co-creating each other and our pluriverses. If we could all awaken to this reality, that caring of individual self is the same as caring for other beings, we might collectively put an end to the devastation of climate change. The workshops progress from care of self to care of community, and then care of our earth home. The first workshop focuses on self-awareness and works with the question of what individuals are noticing in themselves in response to climate catastrophe. What feelings arise when they hear that 150 species are going extinct every day? We learned the easiest fold for the canoe as I share what I've learned about the annual tribal canoe journey in the Northwest and the lessons of the canoe, which is so much more than a vessel of conveyance. The second workshop theme opens out awareness to care of our people, our communities, collective care. My poem, 1,000 Gifts of Decolonial Love, weaves the instructions for folding paper cranes into the story of Sadako, Hiroshima victim, whose paper cranes came to symbolize peace. A story of climate colonialism and the endangerment of cranes in Taiwan and around the world, and contemporary liberation struggles of Indigenous sovereignty and the movement for Black lives. The third workshop theme focuses on interspecies kinship through the plight of the horseshoe crab. I will now show a video poem of the horseshoe crabs that includes images of deceased horseshoe crab ancestors lying in the sand, a pair of spawning horseshoe crabs at water's edge, and a male horseshoe crab that I found on its back. When I flipped it over, its barnacle and seaweed covered carapace indicated its ancient age. Poetics of Repair. Oh, sorry. This arthropod loves a full moon, August 2020. They have 10 eyes and hard but sensitive shells. Mate at new moon or full. Maybe tonight, after this muggy morning, chipping twigs for mulch. Heavy air between us and our garden. Pandemic protocols keep him home this his 20th year. Canceled plans to meet his brother in Taiwan. I was to follow to visit my born place, where horseshoe crabs are beloved by a web of lovers, nature lovers, ocean lovers, lovers of lovers. In Hokkien, horseshoe crab sounds like filial piety, akin to beloved community. How do my people love the horseshoe crab? Let me count the ways. Carved into Longshan temple, its generous shells ladle sweet water, or scoop and toss fried rice in a wok, or hang above doorways to ward off evil spirits. The Wampanoag also scooped with their bowl-shaped shells, water or seeds or acorns. How do scientists love Tachypleus triadentatus? They bleed their crusty bodies for endotoxin testing. They drain their milky moonstone-hued blood that turns gelatinous at the slightest hint of toxins from bacteria. Our lives depend on the blood of these ancient arthropods. Found poem from the last days of the blue blood harvest. 450 million years. In this time, the Earth has gone through multiple major ice ages, a great dying, the formation and breaking up of Pangaea, an asteroid impact that killed the dinosaurs and most of life on Earth yet again. Horseshoe crabs have truly seen some shit. From conservationists sound alarm over use of horseshoe crab blood in race to find vaccine. Over 500,000 of the living fossils rounded up by US pharmaceutical companies each year during the spring when they come ashore to lay their eggs, milked every year for their cerulean blood. 1/3 of them will die. Horseshoe crab blood is key to making COVID-19 vaccine. Their lives for our immunity, our soft bodies for their blood. Blood pulses red under our soft, penetrable skin, black or brown, or amber or olive or copper skin. Blood runs redder than any sunburnt skin. This we have in common, breath and blood and skin. Inhale, exhale, air, fresh, fiery, fluid. We all swim in the same blue sea. May millions of horseshoe crab mamas lay hundreds of millions of eggs this spring under a full moon, bright and clear. May millions of babies burrow safely in the sand, growing and molting year after year after year, until we are all ready to swim back to sea together. In the workshop, I lead a guided meditation at this point with the JOS paper and ask participants to listen for the story of the paper, to allow our minds to reach down into the moist earth and follow the journey of the bamboo, the laborers that made the paper, allowing our minds to fly with the cranes, and then to rest on the shore where the horseshoe crabs arrive to mate. Zhenzu Earthland Manual talks about oppression as a distortion of our true nature. It disconnects us from the earth and from each other. Awakening from the distortion of oppression begins with tenderness. We recognize our own wounded tenderness, which develops into the tenderness of vulnerability and culminates in the tenderness that comes with heartfelt and authentic liberation. That first experience with tenderness is a cry from deep within our own nature. It compels us to seek out a connection to the earth and each other. That's from The Way of Tenderness, Awakening Through Race, Sexuality, and Gender, 2015. I would then teach the horseshoe crab fold, but in the interest of time, I would just like to conclude. I suggest that decolonizing the Anthropocene must begin with an examination of the ongoing violence of settler colonialism. Socially engaged art can play an essential role in disrupting the ecocidal logics articulated by Davis and Todd that attempt to sever mind from body and spirit, humans from other than human. The collective trauma of climate colonialism may be metabolized by revitalizing ancestral knowledge, language, and ceremonial traditions.